Hello and welcome to another episode of D3 Talks. I'm your host, Alex Radford, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of media planning in New Zealand. If you've ever wondered how brands decide where to spend their advertising dollars in this increasingly fragmented landscape, you're in for a treat.
And I'm Briar, business director at D3, and I'm thrilled to be joining Alex today to unpack what media planning looks like in 2025.
Brilliant to have you, Brian. Now, for our listeners, we're going to explore how media planning has evolved, particularly with the rise of omnichannel approaches. We'll look at how technology is reshaping the role of media planners, dive into strategic channel selection, and discuss how success is measured in this brave new world.
That's right, Alex. And we'll be sharing some real world examples from the New Zealand market to illustrate these concepts. So, whether you're a marketing professional or just curious about how advertising works behind the scenes, there's something here for everyone. Let's jump right in, shall we?
So, Brian, let's start with the basics. What exactly does a media planner do in 2025, and how has this role changed in recent years?
Great question, Alex. At its core, a media planner's job is still about connecting brands with their target audiences through the most effective channels. But what's changed dramatically is the complexity of that task.
Right, because we're not just talking about TV, radio, and print anymore, are we?
Not at all. The media landscape has become incredibly fragmented. We've got social media, streaming services, podcasts, retail media, connected TV, programmatic advertising. The list goes on. And audiences aren't concentrated on a few dominant platforms anymore. They're scattered across all these different touch points.
It's a bit like trying to catch fish that are swimming in dozens of different ponds rather than one big lake.
That's a perfect analogy, Alex. And that fragmentation is exactly why we've seen this shift from traditional siloed media planning to what we now call omnichannel planning. It's no longer enough to run separate campaigns on different channels and hope for the best. Uh,
Let's dig into that a bit. What exactly do we mean by omnichannel planning, and how is it different from just using multiple channels?
this is such an important distinction. Multi channel simply means using various channels to reach your audience. Omnichannel takes this several steps further. It's about creating a seamless, integrated experience across all those channels. Imagine a customer sees your ad on Instagram, later hears about your product on a podcast, then receives an email offer, and finally visits your physical store. With true omnichannel planning, each of those touch points delivers a consistent message and experience, recognizing where the customer is in their journey.
So rather than treating each channel as a separate silo, you're viewing them as part of a connected ecosystem.
Exactly. The customer doesn't think in terms of channels, they're just interacting with your brand. So our planning needs to reflect that reality. It's about putting the customer at the center of everything rather than the channels.
I imagine this requires quite a shift in how media planners approach their work.
Absolutely. The technological side of things has changed dramatically too. Media planners in 2025 need to be much more data savvy than their predecessors. Artificial intelligence has transformed how we work.
How so? Give us some examples of how AI is changing the game.
Well, AI is now handling many of the tasks that used to take media planners hours or even days to complete. It's analyzing vast data sets to identify audience segments with incredible precision. It's optimizing ad placements and bidding strategies in real time. It's even helping to predict consumer behavior so we can be more proactive in our strategies.
That sounds both exciting and perhaps a little threatening for professionals in the field. Is AI replacing media planners?
I'd say it's transforming the role rather than replacing it. The grunt work, the data entry, the manual optimizations, that's increasingly automated. But this actually elevates the media planner's role to focus more on strategy, creativity, and validating those AI generated recommendations. It's about working with the AI rather than being replaced by it. The media planner brings the human element, understanding the brand's voice, the nuances of the market, the cultural context that AI might miss.
So, in a way, AI is freeing up media planners to do the more interesting, creative parts of their job.
Precisely. And speaking of creativity, we're also seeing media planners collaborate more closely with content creators and influencers.
The creator economy is booming, isn't it?
Absolutely. In New Zealand, just like globally, millions of content creators are revolutionizing how consumers discover brands and make purchase decisions. Media planners need to understand how to effectively integrate creators into their strategies, and that requires a different skill set than traditional media buying.
And I imagine consumer behavior is shifting along with all these technological changes.
Without a doubt, New Zealanders are consuming media differently than they were even a few years ago. They're switching seamlessly between devices from smartphones to tablets to smart TVs. And there are significant generational differences in how people engage with media.
I've noticed that my son never watches traditional TV, whereas my mum still rely heavily on it.
That's exactly it. Older generations in New Zealand remain heavy consumers of traditional media, while younger demographics gravitate toward digital platforms, streaming services, and social media. This means media planners can't take a one size fits all approach. They need to understand these nuances and tailor their strategies accordingly.
So it sounds like successful media planning in 2025 requires a blend of technological savvy, creative thinking, and a deep understanding of human behavior.
That's spot on, Alex. And one more trend I'd highlight is the convergence of media and retail.
Ah, yes, retail media is huge now, isn't it?
It's one of the fastest growing areas in the industry. Retail media advertising, placing ads on retailers' digital platforms, and even within physical retail spaces has become a crucial component of many brand strategies. It offers this unique opportunity to reach shoppers at the point of purchase when they're already in a buying mindset.
I've noticed this myself, shopping online and seeing sponsored products, or walking through a supermarket and seeing digital displays. It's quite subtle sometimes, but clearly effective.
Definitely. And for media planners, it's another channel to integrate into the omni-channel mix. The key is understanding how retail media fits with other touch points to create that seamless customer experience we talked about.
Let's talk about how media planners actually select the right channels for their campaigns.
This is where things get really interesting, Alex. With so many channels available, how do you decide where to invest your client's budget?
I imagine there's quite a scientific approach to this decision making process.
There absolutely is. Media planners use various frameworks to determine the most appropriate channels. It all starts with a deep understanding of who you're trying to reach, your target audience.
So, audience first, channels second.
Always, you need to understand your audience's demographics, psychographics, and most importantly, their media consumption habits specific to the New Zealand market. Which platforms do they use most frequently? What types of content do they engage with? When are they most receptive to advertising messages? Once you have that foundation, you need to align your channel selection with the specific objectives of the campaign. Different channels have different strengths.
Could you give us some examples of that? How might channel selection differ based on campaign objectives?
Of course. If your goal is broad brand awareness, traditional TV might still be highly effective for reaching large audiences simultaneously in New Zealand. But if you're looking to drive immediate sales or generate leads, channels like search engine marketing or paid social might be more suitable because they can target users with high purchase intent.
And I suppose budget is a major factor as well.
Absolutely. Media planners evaluate the reach, frequency, and cost effectiveness of different channels within the New Zealand market. We need to determine how to maximize the impact of our budget, which often means finding the right mix of channels rather than putting all our eggs in one basket.
Let's dig into some specific channels. What's the state of play with traditional media versus digital in New Zealand in 2025?
This is fascinating because despite all the digital transformation we've seen, traditional media like TV and radio continue to hold significant sway in New Zealand. There is no doubt that audiences are declining, but they still have a vital role to play.
That's interesting. I think there was a perception a few years back that traditional media was dying out completely.
Yes, and that prediction has proven to be overstated. The reality is more nuanced. Traditional TV remains powerful for broad reach and brand building, especially among older demographics. Radio still provides targeted reach by station and format, making it valuable for frequency building and reaching local audiences. Even print media, while its overall reach has declined, still offers targeted opportunities through niche publications with loyal readerships.
So it's not an either slash or situation between traditional and digital.
Not at all. The most effective strategies often combine both. For example, you might use traditional TV for broad awareness, complemented by targeted digital video to reach cord cutters and streaming audiences.
Let's talk about some of the digital channels that media planners are working with. Search engine marketing, we learnt in last week's podcast, is still crucial.
Absolutely. Some, particularly through platforms like Google Ads, plays a vital role in driving visibility for intent-driven searches in New Zealand. When consumers are actively searching for products or services, you want to be there. And Google's offerings have evolved significantly. Performance Max campaigns now use AI to optimize ad delivery across all of Google's channels, search, display, YouTube, Gmail, to maximize conversions based on your goals.
And social media continues to be a powerhouse, I imagine.
Huge. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn offer incredible targeting capabilities in New Zealand. Media planners can leverage rich demographic and psychographic data to reach specific audience segments with tailored messages. The trend in New Zealand, mirroring global shifts, is towards more authentic and long-term partnerships with influencers. There's a recognition of their ability to build trust among their followers in a way that traditional advertising sometimes can't.
What about some of the newer or emerging channels, connected TV, for instance?
Connected TV and online video platforms are growing rapidly in popularity in New Zealand. They're crucial for reaching cord cutters and streaming audiences who may not be accessible through traditional television. The advantage here is that you can combine the engaging storytelling aspect of TV with the targeting precision of digital. It's a powerful combination.
And podcasts have exploded in popularity as well.
They certainly have. Podcasts have emerged as a unique channel for reaching highly engaged and often niche audiences with in-depth audio content. The intimate and long-form nature of podcasts allows for deeper connections with listeners, creating great opportunities for brand integration through sponsorships and targeted advertising.
Okay, well, any sponsors out there, get in touch. Let's touch on programmatic advertising now. That seems to have become increasingly.
Programmatic has indeed matured significantly. It involves the automated buying and selling of digital media across a wide range of channels: display, video, audio. Media planners use demand-side platforms, DSPs, to access vast amounts of ad inventory and employ data-driven targeting and optimization techniques. The beauty of programmatic is that it allows for precise targeting based on various data signals and enables real-time adjustments to campaigns for optimal performance.
We've mentioned retail media a couple of times. Could you elaborate on how that fits into the channel mix?
Retail media has become a powerhouse in its own right. It offers brands the opportunity to reach shoppers at the point of purchase on retailers' digital platforms and in physical retail spaces. The convergence of retail and media is creating this whole new ecosystem where the shopping experience and the advertising experience are increasingly intertwined. For media planners, it's about understanding how to effectively integrate retail media into the broader omnichannel strategy.
With all these channels available, how do media planners in New Zealand typically approach the evaluation process?
It's quite structured. We evaluate each channel across multiple dimensions: reach, cost, target audience alignment, and effectiveness for different campaign goals. For example, SEM might have high effectiveness for conversions and lead generation, but will be limited to users actively searching for specific terms. Traditional TV might have broad reach, but at a higher cost and with less precise targeting. The art of media planning is finding the right combination of channels that complement each other and collectively achieve your campaign objectives within budget constraints.
Let's talk about one of the most crucial aspects of media planning. How do media planners decide how much money to allocate to each channel?
This is where things get really interesting, Alex. Budget allocation is both an art and a science.
What are the key factors that influence these decisions?
The primary driver should always be the campaign objectives. Whether you're trying to maximize reach, drive engagement, achieve high conversion rates, or generate a strong ROI, this fundamentally shapes where you allocate your budget. Understanding the target audience's size and their media consumption habits in New Zealand is also crucial. Channels where the target audience spends the most time and is most receptive to advertising should generally receive a larger share.
And I imagine competitive analysis plays a role too.
Definitely. Analyzing what your competitors are doing can provide valuable insights. Where are they spending? Which channels seem to be working for them? But it's also important to identify opportunities to differentiate, perhaps investing in underutilized channels where your brand can stand out.
What about historical performance data? How much does that influence budget decisions?
Historical campaign performance is incredibly valuable. Looking at the ROI from previous campaigns across different channels gives you empirical evidence of what has worked before. This data-driven approach ensures that budget allocation is based on actual results rather than assumptions.
Are there specific models that media planners use for budget allocation?
Several, actually. Marketing mix modeling, or MMM, has become increasingly valuable. It analyzes historical data on media spend and sales outcomes to identify the most effective spending combinations across channels. Attribution modeling is another critical strategy. It tracks customer journeys and helps understand the contribution of different touch points to conversions. This helps media planners allocate budget more effectively to the channels that drive the most valuable interactions.
I've heard about the 60/40 rule, spending 60% on brand building and 40% on activation. Is that still relevant?
It's still a useful guideline, but it needs to be adapted to the specific nuances of each campaign in the New Zealand market. The principle behind it remains sound, balancing short-term performance-driven tactics with long-term brand-building activities. Investing in brand awareness through upper and mid-funnel marketing efforts can have a significant and lasting impact on the bottom line, even if the immediate ROI isn't as easy to measure.
How do you approach optimizing media spend to maximize ROI?
It's all about continuous monitoring and adjustment. Media planners track campaign performance across all channels in real time, making adjustments to budget allocation based on the insights gained. AI-powered tools are increasingly valuable here, enabling automated budget optimization that ensures spending is directed towards the most effective opportunity. The focus should always be on high ROI channels and tactics that have proven successful within the New Zealand market. It's about being agile and responsive to the data.
Let's shift gears slightly and talk about how success is measured. How do media planners define and measure the success of their campaigns?
This starts with setting clear objectives using the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Without clear objectives, you can't meaningfully measure success.
And these objectives need to align with broader business goals, I assume?
Absolutely. If the overarching business goal is to increase market share in New Zealand, a media campaign objective might be to increase brand awareness among a specific target audience by a certain percentage within a defined period. It's also important to consider both short term objectives, such as driving immediate sales, and long term objectives, such as building brand equity and customer loyalty.
What specific KPIs do media planners typically use to measure success?
There's quite a range depending on the campaign objectives. Reach and frequency are fundamental, measuring how many unique individuals you've reached and how often they've seen your message across all channels. Engagement metrics track how consumers interact with your brand: clicks, likes, shares, comments on social media, time spent viewing content. Conversion rates measure the percentage of users who complete desired actions: making a purchase, signing up for a newsletter, submitting a lead form.
And what about the financial metrics?
Return on investment (ROI) and return on ad spend (ROAS) are critical. They calculate the profitability of your media investments. For every dollar spent, how much revenue are you generating? Customer lifetime value is a longer term metric that estimates the total value a customer acquired through your campaign will bring to the business over their entire relationship.
With so many channels and touch points, how do you attribute success to specific elements of the campaign?
That's one of the biggest challenges in modern media planning. Attribution models help us understand which touch points contributed to conversions and to what degree. The simplest model is last click attribution, which gives all the credit to the final touch point before conversion. But more sophisticated models, like multi touch attribution, distribute credit across all the touch points in the customer journey. With the rise of omnichannel, there's an increased focus on holistic measurement frameworks that capture the interplay between different channels and provide a more complete picture of campaign effectiveness.
What tools are media planners using to gather and analyze this data?
There's a whole ecosystem of analytics tools. Google Analytics provides comprehensive data on website traffic and user behavior. Social media platforms have their own analytics dashboards for engagement, reach, and audience demographics. Each advertising platform, Google Ads, Meta Ads, offers reporting tools for campaign performance. The key is bringing all this data together to form a cohesive picture of campaign effectiveness across all channels. That's where data visualization tools and dashboards become invaluable.
Let's talk about the pre implementation planning process and some real world success stories.
Yes, let's get into the nitty gritty of how media planners prepare before launching a campaign.
What are the key elements of pre implementation planning?
It all starts with in depth audience analysis. This is the bedrock of effective media planning in New Zealand: identifying and understanding the specific demographics, psychographics, behaviors, and media consumption habits of your target audience. Developing detailed audience personas can help media planners visualize and better understand the needs and preferences of their target audience in the New Zealand context.
And once you understand your audience, what's next?
Then you need to assess the competitive landscape. Analyzing the media strategies, channel usage, and messaging of key competitors within the New Zealand market can reveal valuable insights and potential opportunities. Identifying gaps or areas where competitors may be underperforming can help brands differentiate themselves and gain a competitive advantage.
So, audience analysis and competitive assessment lead to the actual media plan.
Exactly. The culmination is developing a comprehensive media plan tailored to the New Zealand market. This includes defining the campaign's objectives, selecting the optimal mix of channels, creating a detailed media schedule, developing messaging and creative strategies for each channel, and establishing a measurement plan with clear KPIs.
I imagine regulatory compliance is also an important consideration.
Absolutely crucial. Media planners must ensure that all advertising activities adhere to New Zealand advertising standards and regulations. This includes the codes and guidelines set forth by the Advertising Standards Authority, ASA, and compliance with regulations related to specific industries, such as alcohol or finance. Failure to adhere to these standards can result in complaints, reputational damage, and even legal issues. So it's a vital part of the pre implementation process.
Let's talk about technology again. How is AI specifically transforming the pre implementation planning phase?
AI is enhancing efficiency and automating various aspects of the planning process. AI powered tools can help with campaign creation by suggesting relevant keywords, identifying optimal targeting parameters, and even recommending audience demographics based on historical data. For reporting and insights, AI streamlines the analysis of vast data sets, making it easier to extract actionable recommendations. This automation of routine tasks allows media planners to focus more on strategic thinking and creative development.
And data analytics plays a crucial role too.
Absolutely. Data analytics enables personalization and precise targeting. Leveraging first party data provides a deeper understanding of customer preferences and behaviors, allowing for more relevant and personalized messaging.
How about emerging trends? What should media planners in New Zealand be preparing for in the near future?
Several trends are shaping the landscape. The creator economy continues to grow, with millions of content creators revolutionizing how consumers engage with content and discover brands. Media planners should consider effective ways to collaborate with creators to amplify their brand's purpose. The convergence of digital out of home and retail media is accelerating, creating new opportunities for reaching consumers in physical environments. And with the decline of third party cookies, leveraging first party data in a privacy conscious environment is becoming increasingly critical.
It sounds like retail media in particular is set for significant growth.
Absolutely. Forecasts suggest a multi-billion-dollar surge in retail media revenue in Australia and New Zealand. We're seeing increasing integration of in store and online experiences for seamless engagement, the crucial role of first party data in a cookie free future, and growth in strategic partnerships between retailers and brands. There's also a rising demand for tech talent to support retail media networks, highlighting the technological sophistication of this emerging channel.
As we wrap up this discussion, what would you say are the key takeaways for media planners in New Zealand in 2025?
I'd say the future of media planning in New Zealand is dynamic and full of opportunity. Success requires embracing a customer centric approach, developing expertise in leveraging AI and data analytics, and fostering collaboration across different marketing functions. Strategic channel selection, optimized budget allocation, and clear objectives remain fundamental. And perhaps most importantly, media planners need to continually adapt to the evolving landscape, embracing new technologies and channels while maintaining a deep understanding of the New Zealand market and consumer behavior.
That's brilliant, Briar. We've covered so much ground today, from the evolving landscape of media planning to channel selection, budget allocation, measurement, and pre implementation planning. Thank you for sharing your expertise with our listeners.
It's been a pleasure, Alex.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of D3 Talks. We've been discussing media planning in New Zealand in 2025 with Briar from D3. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review.
Until next time, I'm Alex Radford. Thanks for listening.